goes through your mind when there's a crowd chanting to fire you in your home stadium?
Man, I share their frustration tonight, man. We didn't do enough. And that's just the reality of it.
When Ben Roethlisberger speaks about the Pittsburgh Steelers, people listen. And what he just said about Mike Tomlin has everyone in the NFL world talking. Big Ben went on his podcast and said something nobody expected. He thinks it might be time for the Steelers and Mike Tomlin to go separate ways. This is huge because Roethlisberger played 15 seasons under Tomlin. They won a Super Bowl together. They built one of the best teams in football together. So when he says things need to change, it means something. Let me tell you what's happening in Pittsburgh right now. The Steelers are 6-6. That means they've won 6 games and lost 6 games. They're tied with the Baltimore Ravens for first place in their division. But here's the problem. They started the season really strong at 4 wins and 1 loss. Everyone thought they were going to run away with the division. Then, everything fell apart. They lost 5 of their last 7 games. The Ravens were 1-5 early in the season. The Bengals were struggling without Joe Burrow. The Steelers had their chance, and they blew it. The last game was really bad. They played the Buffalo Bills at home and lost 26-7. At halftime, the Steelers were winning 7-3. Fans thought they had a chance. Then the second half started and everything went wrong. On the very first play, Joey Bosa hit Aaron Rodgers hard. The ball came loose and the Bills picked it up for a touchdown. After that, Buffalo took over completely. The Steelers' offense never got going. It was one of the worst losses in Tomlin's entire time as head coach. And the fans? They were angry. Really angry. They started booing during the game. They chanted "Fire Tomlin" at their own home stadium. They even booed the song "Renegade" by Styx, which has been their defensive hype song forever. When fans boo their own hype song, you know things are bad. After the game, Tomlin said he understood the frustration. He said,
"A couple more." What goes through your mind when there's a crowd chanting to fire you in your home stadium?
Man, I share their frustration tonight, man. We didn't do enough. And that's just the reality of it.
But it gets worse. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016. That's almost 9 years ago. They've lost 6 straight playoff games. In 2016, they lost to the New England Patriots in the championship game. The next year, they had 13 wins and still got upset by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Since then, they've lost 4 times in the wild card round. Last season, they lost to the Ravens with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. Right now, they're not even in the playoff picture going into Week 14. So that's the situation when Roethlisberger decided to speak up. He was on his podcast called Footballin' with Ben Roethlisberger on December 2nd. He said,
"No, it's being talked about around here a lot. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's a clean house time. Maybe it is. Maybe it's time." And I like Coach Tomlin. I have a lot of respect for Coach Tomlin. But maybe it's best for him too.
Sure.
Maybe a fresh start for him is what's best.
Think about who's saying this. Ben Roethlisberger played his entire 18-year career with the Steelers. He threw for over 64,000 yards and 418 touchdowns. He's 6th all-time in passing yards and 8th in touchdown passes. He went to 6 Pro Bowls. He won the Super Bowl in 2005 under Bill Cowher. Then he won another Super Bowl in 2008 under Mike Tomlin. That was only Tomlin's 2nd year as head coach. These two have history together. Real history. But Roethlisberger didn't stop there. He had an idea for what Tomlin should do next. He said,
"Go be Penn State's head coach." You know what he would do in Penn State? He'd probably go win national championships.
Because
he's a great recruiter.
That's what was I having a conversation? We probably had this.
Probably.
Or I was having this conversation the other day. I'm like, Coach T in college would be one of the greatest college football coaches.
Now this is interesting because Penn State just fired their head coach James Franklin in October. Franklin had been there for 12 seasons, but the team started 3-3 this year. They finished 6-6, which was terrible because they were ranked number 2 in the country before the season started. Everyone thought they would win the Big Ten championship. Instead, they were awful. Now Penn State is looking for a new coach and they can't find anyone. They tried to get the coach from BYU named Kalani Sitake, but he said no and stayed at BYU. They tried to get coaches from Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Nebraska. Everyone said no. Their coaching search has become a total mess. But here's the thing. Roethlisberger doesn't think the Steelers should fire Tomlin. He thinks they should have a talk and agree to split up. He said,
"What's happened? Listen. Here's what doesn't. Here's what you don't do. You don't fire a guy like Coach Tomlin. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's respected. What you do is you come to an understanding and agreement. And it's like, hey, listen, I think it's probably best for both of us. And you don't, because listen, we've had the same head coach in Coach Tomlin.
He explained how this has happened before with the Steelers. The team has only had 3 head coaches since 1969. Chuck Noll coached for 23 years, Bill Cowher coached for 15 years. Now Tomlin has been there for 19 years. The Steelers love keeping coaches for a long time, but eventually, even the best coaches have to move on. Roethlisberger said,
Yeah.
It happened with Chuck Noll.
Sure.
Happened with Coach Cowher. Now, Coach Cowher's was a little bit different, right, because of family things. Coach Tomlin's been here a long time, and you would give him a statue, do whatever you got to do, because he deserves it.
Yeah.
He's earned it. But it's like, okay, it's time to find that next guy, and who's that next guy that could be here for the next 20 years?
Roethlisberger also compared this to what happened with Andy Reid and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles let Reid go after the 2012 season. He had been there for 14 years but never won a Super Bowl. Everyone thought it was a bad move. But guess what happened? Both teams won. The Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls since Reid left. And Reid went to the Kansas City Chiefs and won 3 Super Bowls there. Roethlisberger said,
I think he might say, like, it's time for a fresh start. When you've been in one place in the NFL for that long, like, even the greatest of, like, you talk about the Belichicks and the Gibbs and the Seiferts and the
Andy Reid, bro.
Andy Reid switched and went.
Yeah.
Would Andy Reid be? Do you think when he was and people when he got let go in Philadelphia, people were like, "What in the world?" Like, what he did? He went to all the NFC Championship games, didn't win it, but holy cow! And now, do you think he, for 1 minute, regrets it, or anybody? I mean,
Well, that's
and now the Eagles have won since he's left.
Big Ben also talked about what's been frustrating him. He said,
I think it's probably best for both of us. And you don't, because listen, we've had the same head coach in Coach Tomlin. We've had different offensive coordinators, different defensive coordinators, but it's kind of been the same story.
the Steelers have had 5 different offensive coordinators and 3 different defensive coordinators since Tomlin started in 2007. They keep changing the assistants, but the results stay the same. The offense struggles no matter who's calling plays. The defense is the highest paid in the entire NFL, but they still go up and down. Even with Aaron Rodgers, a 4-time MVP, at quarterback, they're still losing games. But Roethlisberger wasn't the only Steelers legend who spoke out. James Harrison, the famous linebacker, said some things too. Harrison played under Tomlin for parts of 10 seasons. He made 5 straight Pro Bowls from 2007 to 2011. He won Defensive Player of the Year in 2008. He was a 2-time All-Pro. His best years in football all came under Mike Tomlin. Harrison went on his podcast called Debo and Joe and said, "I have never been a person that thought Coach Tomlin was a great coach. I thought he was a good coach. A good coach gets you to play to your potential, and right now, the players we have on that team I have seen play, they're not playing up to their potential. A great coach gets you to play to your potential." Harrison also said, "Something has to be done. I know the Steelers historically don't move on from coaches, but I think it's time that history be made." This is coming from a guy who won championships with Tomlin, a guy who became a star under Tomlin. When players like this start saying it's time for change, it means the situation is really serious. So let's talk about Mike Tomlin's record. He has won 189 games and lost 113 games in the regular season. That's a winning percentage of .625, which is the best in Steelers history. He's won the 11th most games of any coach in NFL history. He won Super Bowl 43 against the Arizona Cardinals. He has never, ever had a losing season as a head coach. That's 18 straight winning seasons. He's 53 years old, and he's been coaching the Steelers since 2007. He's the longest tenured head coach in the NFL right now. But the problems are real. The Steelers haven't won their division since 2020. They haven't won a playoff game since January 2017. In his last 17 games, Tomlin is 6-11. This could be his first losing season ever. People around the NFL think he might not be back next season. The crazy part is that Tomlin said before he would never coach college football. Back in 2021, people wanted him to go coach USC. He said, "I got one of the best jobs in all of professional sport. Why would I have any interest in coaching college football?" Never say never, but never. There's not a booster with a big enough blank check. His last college job was in 1999 when he coached defensive backs at Cincinnati. That was 25 years ago. College football is completely different now with all the new rules about paying players and transfers. Most reporters think if Tomlin leaves Pittsburgh, he'll get another NFL job right away. He wouldn't go to college. But maybe things have changed. Maybe he's tired of the pressure in Pittsburgh. The Steelers play the Ravens this Sunday in Baltimore. Whoever wins that game takes first place in the division all by themselves. It's a huge game. It might determine what happens with Tomlin's future. Right now, the Steelers are barely hanging on to their playoff hopes. This game could save their season or end it.